Ever since we have looked up into space, man has wondered what wonders await him above our own planet, on the others that we could see in the distance. Only in the last 100 years or so have those wonders been shown to us. Yet of all the heavenly bodies we could see, we have only ever set foot on our own moon. Many planets are simply too far away, or are gaseous. But one planet has been an almost constant goal of the astronautical community, the planet Mars. It's relatively close, is a similar size to Earth, and may have had flowing water at some point. But there are many issues that stop it from being that simple. First off is the distance. Even if it's closer than the other planets, Mars is still quite far away out in space, and to get there we must build big rockets and use titanic amounts of fuel. But between you and me, it's actually just in this closet. Now that we're here, we can discuss some of the other issues. Let's start with the temperature. Since Mars is further away from the Sun than Earth is, has a thinner atmosphere, and lacks Earth's unique magnetic field, it has a significantly lower temperature than our own dirt ball does. The equator is most likely warmer than the poles, but on the planet as a whole, we have recorded temperatures as low as negative 284 degrees Fahrenheit. Not ideal, to say the least. Another issue that stems from the planet's smaller size is the lower gravitation. Martians would experience about 38% of the standard gravity here on Earth. The main problem with this is that it would affect the biological structure of anything that tried to live on Mars. Our human bones and muscles, with the extra weight of our gravity removed, would slowly deteriorate, gradually resulting in a creature that could no longer live on Earth, at least not without reconditioning. And finally, I think that you'll find it's a bit hard to breathe up here. You see, the atmosphere of Mars is made up of many things, and oxygen, which we need to survive, is not chief among them. In fact, O2 makes up less than 1% of the Martian atmosphere. Now, hearing all this may make you think, why even bother? This whole thing seems like a lot of trouble to go through. But there are many reasons we want to find out information about Mars. First off, we want to know about the history of Mars. Many scientists think we may be able to discover more about our own world, or even about the universe as a whole, by studying Mars. They theorize that Earth and Mars may have been similar once, but have slowly deviated. If so, studying Mars could help us understand more about how planets develop over time given unique scenarios. In addition, there have been discussions about trying to colonize Mars, and it would be good to know what we're up against before we go there. And, if we ever needed to build a portal to hell as a renewable energy source, Mars seems like a pretty good place to do it. As I'm certain you can suss out, our red neighbor is not a great place for us to be. So, what are we to do? Well, I'm glad you asked. This calls for everybody's favorite, the robots. Once again, we have developed something that can accomplish tasks far better than we can. Let's talk about the robots, the stars of the space show. There have been many missions on the Red Planet. However, many were unsuccessful, with their crafts being lost at some point after launch. We'll briefly go over some of the ones that were successful. Many of these missions were satellites, orbiting the planet and sending back valuable data for us to learn about the planet. 5 of the successful missions were rovers, wheeled land vehicles with scientific instruments all over them. These little troopers would roll around the planet's surface and study various samples. A few missions were stationary labs, studying a specific region of the planet in great depth. Most of these are no longer functioning. A very important mission that is still ongoing is the Odyssey satellite. This orbiting piece of technology sends us pictures of the foreign landscape and acts as the relay between Mars' ground operations and Earth. Of course, our scientists are still hard at work at developing new pieces of technology we can fling at the planet and hopefully hit it. One of these is the Mars Sample Return. This program is a proposal of several machines that would go to Mars, collect samples, and then haul them back to Earth so that we could study them on our own soil. One of the most well-known missions in the list of Martian expeditions is our main topic of discussion today, the Curiosity rover. time of its construction, the Curiosity rover was the most advanced one we had ever built. The rover was built by the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory while YouTuber Mark Rober was still in their employ. After construction and testing were finished, the Curiosity was shot into space on November 26, 2011. It landed on Mars on August 5, 2012, and began its exploratory mission. But in order to conduct such research, the rover needs to be durable enough to survive the harsh conditions found on Mars and have the tools needed to find out valuable information about the planet. To accommodate all that, the Curiosity rover is about the size of a small car. Its heavy, instrument-packed body is held up by 6 20-inch aluminum wheels with titanium springs in the centers. In order that we might observe Curiosity's mission, it is there in our stead after all, it was built with a whopping 17 cameras, allowing us to view the planet. 8 of these cameras are also designed to detect obstacles and help the rover navigate. These are called HazCams. Also helping the rover navigate are the 4 NavCams built into the rover's head. The final 5 cameras are made for specific research tasks, and we'll go over them a bit later. Now, about them gadgets. One of the simpler tools on the machine is the arm. It's a robot arm with 3 points of articulation. Nothing too crazy there. Where it gets really interesting is in the 5 interchangeable tools that on the hand of the arm. The first of these tools is APXS, or Alpha Particle X-ray Spectrometer. When this instrument is touching a rock, it can blast X-rays into the sample to determine what elements are in the rock. The APXS can be swapped out for the second tool, the MAHLI, which stands for Mars Hand Lens Imager. This is one of Curiosity's 5 research cameras and takes microscopic pictures of objects of interest. If the MAHLI isn't to your liking, you can sub it out for the CIMRA module, Collection and Handling for In Situ Rock Analysis. CIMRA functions as a scoop and soil sorter. But if you don't dig scoops, there's always the drill. Materials will run up the spinning bit like on an auger. It also has a few replacement bits on hand. The final tool is the brush. It has metal bristles and can clean off samples. Moving away from the arm now, we have the MASCAMs. These 2 color cameras can take video and full 360-degree photos of the environment up there. Backing up the MASCAMs, we have the ChemCam. This is a camera, like the others, except this one has a giant death laser that turns materials into plasmas so we can see what they're made of using the camera and the spectrograph. Materials that have been harvested by the arm drill are sent to the CHEMIN, Chemistry and Mineralogy X-ray Diffraction module, located inside the chassis. It is one of a few internal chambers on Curiosity that allows it to analyze samples. This module uses X-rays to determine the makeup of a subject. Also inside the chassis is SAM, or Sample Analysis at Mars. It utilizes a mass spectrometer, a laser spectrometer, and a gas chromatograph to identify gases needed to support human life inside a given sample. Next up is the Radiation Assessment Detector, or RAD. It's basically a Geiger counter. DAN, or Dynamic Albedo of Neutrons, can detect neutrons escaping the Martian surface. This allows Curiosity to detect sources of water underground. In order for Curiosity to detect information about the environment on Mars, it was built with REMS, Rover Environmental Monitoring Station. The final instrument on the rover, and the last of the cameras on it as well, is known as Mars Descent Imager. It took footage of the planet at 4 frames per second in high definition as the rover entered the atmosphere. All the information in the world won't help you if you can't get to it. That's why the rover was equipped with 3 antennae to communicate with Earthbound scientists.
But how is it possible to power a weapon of that size?
Thank you for the conveniently timed interruption, Admiral. In order for all this electrical equipment to run, the machine needs electricity. This is provided by a nuclear reactor inside the rover, generating power from a decaying sample of plutonium. This was chosen over the solar power used by previous rovers due to its higher rate of consistency, as well as not relying on big, fragile solar panels. With all this expensive technology having been on the Red Planet since 2012, you can bet your asteroid we found some interesting stuff up there. Now, the main purpose of Curiosity was to find out if Mars could ever have supported life, and while we can't confirm, there are a lot of things we have found on the Red Planet that scientists say are essential to Earthbound life. One of the first things we found was a collection of rounded rocks. These small stones had been rounded by something that had been flowing over them. The scientists studying Mars think that this may be from water going over the rocks a very long time ago. Scientists have concluded that if any water had been on Mars, there would be two specific varieties, one with a normal level of acidity like here on Earth, and some that became super corrosive due to pulling chemicals out of the rocks it flowed over. But water is not the only thing required for life. Luckily, Curiosity also found several gases that are critical to life as we know it, as well as some organic material. It also found data that suggests there may have been a more habitable atmosphere at one point, but that it has been slowly lost due to the mass of the planet. But the findings haven't been all sunshine and roses. The RAD module discovered that the radiation levels on Mars are very unsafe for human explorers at the moment. Tagging that on the list of the problems with Mars, and it looks like it'll be quite the challenge to get the planet to a livable state. And that's just about the whole story so far. Curiosity's mission is still ongoing, so new data will continue coming in until its batteries are dead and it shuts down. Its reactor is probably on its last legs, as the rover has long outlived its expected lifespan of 687 Earth days. We've found some incredibly interesting info with this Martian robot, which will help us in our various scientific endeavors. It's really inspiring how so many talented people can come together to educate the human race about the wonders of creation. Good night, everyone. And that's just about the whole story so far. Curiosity's mission is still ongoing, so new data will come in until its batteries are dead and it shuts down. We found some incredibly interesting info with this Martian robot, which will help us in our various scientific endeavors. It's really inspiring how a bunch of scientists can use taxpayer dollars to fling expensive equipment, which is now basically lost forever, on an uninhabitable planet that we like the color of. Good night, everyone.